If you've been vegan a while, like candles are a sort of thing most of us are alerted to when we went vegan. You got to watch out that there's no dead animals in it. Okay. But in witchcraft, however, it's a weird situation where there's an intentionality of seeking out animal-based candles. Today's topic, I wanted to talk about candle magic and veganism. So this might be a bit of a longer one because I have a lot of things to say. So one of the reasons I was inspired to write about vegan witchcraft is because I was really pissed off, really annoyed that and all the talk in witchcraft about, making it more inclusive and being kind to animals and returning to nature and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, there's a deep fetishization, is your word of the day, of animal products. And beeswax is one of those. Really, bee anything is one of those. So honey, not today's topic, but bees' honey is in mead. It's like the witchy drink, isn't it? I'm drinking mead. I've never had mead because I've been vegan since 17, and in the United States you can't legally drink at 17, and I was a good girl. I didn't drink. I drink now, but I've never had mead, and whatever. But today we're talking about beeswax, basically, and candle magic and veganism. So why I started off talking about bees and this sort of fetishization is because we live in an era when you can have candles made of just about anything. Soy, paraffin, technically vegan. I feel like there's some other ones as well. There's all kinds of different ones. There's even the old-time American colonists used to use bayberry. Of course, some folks here in England, a lot of folks, I guess, up until recently, used tallow, which is the rendered body parts and fat and juices of non-human animals, which is extremely grim. Well, thankfully, that's not really the case anymore. I would suspect that a lot of candles are still made with animal fat because slaughterhouses make a lot. One of the reasons that killing animals is possible, because it's such an expensive thing to raise and kill animals, is to make all kinds of different byproducts from the remnants of their bodies that people don't want to eat. So of course you do need to watch out when you're buying your candles. Obviously make sure it's not made with tallow. If there's no kind of labeling on it, I usually get suspicious about it. But that's kind of the obvious. If you've been vegan a while, like candles are a sort of thing most of us are alerted to when we went vegan. You got to watch out that there's no dead animals in it. Okay. But in witchcraft, however, it's a weird situation where there's an intentionality of seeking out animal-based candles. I can't talk. Not the beef tallow ones, but beeswax. And in fact, if you go on witchcraft websites, you can see that they do an upcharge for beeswax candles because they're more expensive, because an animal made them. It's more expensive for that to happen. But why do they do that? Why do people seek this out, and why do they pay more for it? It's because this fetishization of animal labor, I think, and animal products, because historically it's more expensive to do, but also it's considered to be close to nature. That's the kind of language I see quite a bit in the witchcraft books, is that it's close, it's more natural, it's close to nature. I'm sorry, but last I checked, soybeans grew in nature. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just all these other vegan candles that are available are also natural and also connect you to nature. So that makes zero sense whatsoever. To me, what that is saying is it's not the connection to nature, it's that anthropocentrism, it's a human supremacist dominance over nature, that romanticized ancestor relationship to nature and other animals. That's what's going on here, because that's what witchcraft is all about, trying to get us back to our early prehistoric roots, whatever the hell that was, which is all conjecture, because we don't really know. We have very limited information. So I would think that people 4,000 or 5,000 years ago here in the British Isles, if they had access to nice, clean burning soy candles, they would probably be cool. Let's do that. Why are we fooling around the beehive? So again, a lot of witchcraft and the values and the fetishization that happens and the products that are used and the rituals that are created has a lot to do with this reimagining of what our ancestors must have done, which becomes very problematic from a vegan point of view, because first off, that is conjecture and tends to be created from a modern lens, an anthropocentric lens, when really the further we look back in human history, the more of a solidarity we had with other animals, a more animistic society we had, and we were far less reliant on animal products, far less. It was expensive, and really your status was bound to that. So for instance, I've written a book on animals in Irish society, and it's this big stereotype that Irish people eat all these animals, but actually back in historical times, if you look at the archaeological evidence, most people were eating vegan. That's a whole other video, which I can't go into today, but just to give you the gist, that's what we're dealing with in witchcraft, this idea that we're recreating an imagined past, that we fetishize this use of animal products. So not cool. Get it out of my witchcraft, not into it. So that's what you need to be looking out for if you're dabbling into the witchcraft and you're trying to be a better vegan, is to make sure it's not made of beeswax, because we don't need that. It's unnecessary. Soy wax will do just fine. And if you're up on like, well, what about soy in the environment? The vast majority of soy that is grown to feed animals so that we can eat the animals. That's why the rainforest is getting destroyed, not because of vegans. So anyway, I think that we need to kind of move away from fetishizing animal ownership and animal oppression and domestication as part of our witchcraft. I would say that real witchcraft is about rewilding and seeing non-human animals as persons and community members. So when we're doing our candle magic, then number one is check that your candles are not made with any kind of beeswax or tallow or whatever. So let's talk about what candle magic is. Candle magic is probably my first foray into witchcraft. And if you don't know anything about witchcraft, there's lots and lots of variants, lots of different practices that people do. And it gets very postmodern, and it gets very like identity based. Like, I'm a hearth witch, and I'm a water witch, and I'm a whatever witch. Like, everybody has to have their little brand on it or whatever. I guess that's what I'm doing, because I say I'm a vegan witch. But I'm just trying to do witchcraft like I think it should be done, without cruelty. And if we're trying to reclaim these older traditions, this is more like what it would have been. And we would not have been killing animals for fun or whatever. So what you need to be doing then is thinking about candle magic as part of a larger spectrum of possibilities. And I don't know, I just think that with candle magic, it's accessible. I think that's probably why I was drawn to it. It's something tangible. I also like working with herbs, and for that reason, it's something that's tangible that you can play with. But really, at the end of the day, with witchcraft, you don't need any of that. You can just use your mind, visualize, recite things, all kinds of different things that you can do. You don't have to physically own or use anything. But candles are really cool, aren't they, though? Because I've always loved candles. But why do we love candles? I think the cool thing about them is it is magic in process. Because, I mean, I'm going to light my magical just because it's handy. This is my special altar candle. Okay, but it's just like, oh, wow, a normal candle is a thing. Wow, okay. And then you light it and it holds fire. That's cool, right? That's magic. If it's dark, you've created light. This alchemic thing is happening as we speak. That's neat. I'm sorry, right? So you can see why fire, of course, would have been very magical to prehistoric peoples, but why it still kind of captures our imagination today. So that's why I like to use it. You don't have to use it. But as I've explained, or will explain, depending on where you are watching these videos, we oftentimes will incorporate color. We can actually incorporate shapes into your candles, which I've never done. And maybe I should start a side business. I've actually never done any of the shaped candle magic, because almost always those candles are A, super expensive because they're handmade, which is fair. But also B, almost all of them are made with beeswax because they are handmade, and they're people in the witch community trying to make a value-added product. So I don't get to do that. I have attempted to make my own candles in the past, and it never works. It just never, my friends have tried. Like, there's a trick to it that we just don't know, and that is beyond me right now. So anyway, when you're doing candle magic, yes, it's the magic of the fire that you're creating. It's an alchemical sort of thing that's going on, light and dark, all the metaphors, the colors, the shapes, the different types of candles. So the different types of materials used in the candle, but also, is it a large one? Is it a small one? Is it a tea light? Or is it, all of these can be used in order to sort of create a story and create an intention, which is what you're doing with candle magic. Candle magic can be done in a one-off. It can be like a simple ritual where, say, you put a candle in the window. It can be a ritual where you set up different candle colors and different positions, and you align them with gemstones or herbs or whatever. You can play with all kinds of natural stuff, right? Or you can do a candle that's like days of the week. I've done that a few times, where you light so much of a day, where you meditate on a certain spot and you work down. And really what they are, I think at the core of it, they're just tools to help you to concentrate and set intentions. And there should be no room whatsoever for dead animals in that. I'm sorry. This is between you, yourself, and your connection to nature or the cosmos or time itself, whatever. Why do we have to put dead animals in that? Ew. So that is a little rundown on candle magic. If you're interested in learning more, that's probably a very prolific subset of witchcraft books is candle magic. But I just wanted to give my little vegan spiel on that very, very, very few, if any, of these books are critical of the use of beeswax. They are so happy to be using bee labor in these things. And if you think that because I do have some vegan friends who don't really fool around. They don't care about bees so much. They eat honey or don't care about beeswax. And these people, they're my friends. They're not like activists like myself. So I just let it go. But I let it go, but I say what I think. But if you don't know why it's problematic, like do a Google search, because we so often default into thinking that couldn't possibly be cruel. So people are just being over the top. These vegans are just being too picky. But really, you're coming from a place of willful ignorance, and you need to check it out. How many people say the same thing about dairy? Oh, dairy can't be cruel. They have to treat their animals very well so that can create breast milk for us to drink. Most people aren't aware of what happens to dairy cows, that they have to be constantly pregnant. They are killed after just a few years, that they go through this horrific treatment, that their babies are taken away almost immediately, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it's the same thing with the bee industry. It's an industrialized, rationalized, for-profit industry, and there's a lot of suffering and death in it. And if you don't think that bees are sentient, again, like willful ignorance. Do some research on it, I guess. So this is me shouting out for the bees, one for the homies, the little bee babies, and yeah, we can leave a comment. See what do you think about incorporating bee-free spells or bee-free candle magic into your repertoire. And have you found any cool vegan candles that we should know about? Yeah. So how about this? This is my homework for you today. Find a nice candle that no bee was harmed, and put that candle in the window for the bees. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. You know, bees be magic. They got all kinds of like extra sensory perceptions that we don't even know where to begin with. They're cool, aren't they? One last thing. This is somewhere where I used to be quite cheap and finally splurged. Paid like £10 for this. You should not be blowing out your candles. I know that seems very witchy and magical and fun to do, but you will ruin stuff. Trust me. It's very difficult to blow out a candle without it splattering wax everywhere. And if it's in a glass container, it will create a char, which is really nasty. And I've just had wax splattered everywhere so many times. I'm done. I'm over it. So I got a nice little, what do you call that? Candle putter outer. I think I got this from Witchcraft Emporium here in the UK online. Got lots of doohickeys that might be useful. But yeah, it's just safer. And I feel like Ichabod Crane when I do it.